Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery podcast, is brought to you by the Friends in Recovery community, a thriving network of individuals who are fighting back against the stigma of addiction. Join our hosts as they speak up about the real issues of addiction, treatment, and recovery. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Now, here are your Friends in Recovery.
Hello and welcome to the Friends in Recovery podcast. Jersey Ed here with my two co-hosts, Buckeye Bambi and Basking Beth. What Basking? What are you basking in?
The love of God.
Oh, God. Okay, I'm good with that, but okay. Don't you live near like Basking Ridge, New Jersey? Is that why you want to be like you do? I know you do. Like that's where all the elite people. I seen your house, and you got a $10 million house. I'm telling you.
Pay her for this podcast because
I know. Like
I don't have a $10 million house.
Did you see that fucking kitchen she had? Like that kitchen was bigger than my whole house. Okay. We got a little tour of Basking Beth's kitchen before her house. It's gorgeous though.
I have two adolescents that I need as much space from as possible.
Well, you are in New Jersey, so there might be some, you might be, crime family. I don't know. Who knows what you are?
I'm Italian.
I'm just kidding, everybody. And you're Italian, right?
I'm Italian.
Yeah, there you go. So who knows? Well, anyways, if you guys want to ask Beth on the phone to see if she really is part of the Gambino crime family, you can call 800-989-6504, or you can email each one of us if you're watching live on YouTube, or all of our emails are below us, or help@friendsinrecoverypodcast.com, and go to our website, friendsinrecoverycommunity.org. And please make sure you like, subscribe, share, and turn on that notification button, because we want everybody to know that we're on live, or we're on whatever it is. I don't even know. I've been doing podcasts for years. I don't even know how any of this stuff works. So, but I do know how the hearts work. Bambi gets all of them, and we get none.
Yeah,
Zero.
we get none. It's bullshit
whatsoever. So Bambi, purple hearts. Beth, you get black hearts. Myself, blue hearts, and our guest, which we'll introduce in a minute, she will get red hearts. So give a lot of red hearts to our guests. So, of course, I always like to thank Carl and Soberpod and his book, 366 Effing Days Sober. Please, guys, go out and buy that book, Amazon, wherever it is. It'll be in the show notes here. Because here's the thing. I was running the other day, and there it is, 366 Effing Days Sober. And it seems like the more we talk about him, the more he talks about us. So
I like this plan.
No, I know. It's like, it's like serving in tennis. Like, boom, it's in his court. Boom, it's in our court. Back and forth, back and forth. So
I
yeah,
like Carl. We have the same sobriety date. So Carl's my buddy.
You do. You guys do have the same sobriety date. So go listen to Soberpod. They are on your coast there, Laura. They are on the left coast. They're on the west coast over there, and they do a lot of good stuff over there. So go check Soberpod out.
You refer me over there.
We'll get you hooked up with Carl.
Okay, great.
God. Anyways, ladies, anything else before we introduce our guest?
I have a podcast to shout out.
Oh, come on. This is the best podcast right here, Bambi.
It is.
Why are we shouting out for other podcasts?
I know. But listen, guys know I'm obsessed with makeup channels, right? I go and I watch all the looks and blah, blah, blah. And there's this, she owns BK Beauty. Her name is Lisa J. But she had a whole show about how she was stopping drinking alcohol because she realized over time just that it started as a social business type of thing. And it began to just really encroach on her life. And selling brushes, beauty brushes and makeup. And that was just very, it was like an empowering thing for, her to come on and say that as a, she didn't have to tell us anything about that. And it was just really good, that look inside like that.
And what's the name of the podcast?
Lisa J.
Lisa J. If you're listening to this, call us. Come on our podcast. Talk about what's going on. So, all right. Well, that is it for podcasts, I guess. I mean, whatever. Okay. Lisa J is sober, maybe. We don't know, but more to be revealed. So, guys, On our show today, I'd like to welcome our guest, Dr. Laura Petracek, right? Is that correct, Laura?
Yes, that's correct.
All right. So
Congratulations.
from here on,
That was really well done.
there you go. But from here on, it's Dr. P or Laura. That's all I'm going to say from here on in. So welcome to the show, Laura, and thank you for coming on. We appreciate it. You're a little bit behind us, right? So it might even be the morning time over there.
It's 11 a.m. Well, 11:15, I guess. Yeah.
11:15. See, we done that already. We did the AM stuff already. It went pretty well. So hopefully yours will go pretty well too. So Laura, I know you do some DBT work with people in recovery, addiction. You wrote a book. Can you just tell us a little bit of who you are and what you do?
Sure. But before I start, I decided, while everyone was talking, to click on the sobriety calculator. And I've been sober 47 years.
Oh my God.
572 months.
What?
And Carl, I have to say, I'm one up on you. 17,177 effing days. 412,259 hours.
Wow.
So put that in your pipe and smoke it.
Yeah, there you go.
I like this.
Let's just talk about Carl the whole time, right? Let's just talk about Carl. No, I'm just kidding. 47 years sober, really?
Yes. I got
Well,
I went into rehab when I was 17.
Okay.
And then I had about 11 months in, and I just had a hard time accepting I was alcoholic and needed to do, I guess, some more research, and relapsed. And then I've came back when I was 19, and I've been clean and sober ever since.
Wow.
Wow.
I don't think all of us together have 47. No, we do, but that is crazy. One person has 47 years. Incredible.
It's funny. I went to rehab when I was 16 and actually got sober when I was 17. So I'm right there. This is going to be me in a couple of years.
Oh,
That's
okay.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Just a couple.
Years.
I mean, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, no, right?
It feels
Time
like
goes by so fast.
I was you, Beth, like 2 years ago. So there you go.
100%.
That was way too fast. Yeah.
Oh my God. Well, congratulations on that. And I'm guessing you still go to meetings. Do you still do the same things that we talk about?
I still go to meetings. I have a home group. I have a sponsor. I sponsor people. It's worked for all these years.
Wow.
It still works. But also a big part of my story is taking care of my mental health. And what I discuss, I'll just jump right in.
Yeah, go ahead.
The book, when I was just shy of 3 years clean and sober, so most people in recovery kind of go up. And when I got clean and sober, my recovery went this way. And I could not for the life of me figure out what was going on. And I didn't realize that not only was there alcoholism in my family, but mental health issues. And at 3 years clean and sober, I remember calling my sponsor at like 3 a.m. and said, you got to take me. I am so suicidal. I don't think I'll make it through the night.
Wow.
And so he brought me to a rehab because I had already been in a psych ward when I first came into sobriety. And even though it wasn't a bad experience, I didn't really want to go there again. So she brought me to a rehab, and they did a bunch of testing, and they found out that back then it was called manic depression. Today they call it bipolar disorder.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And AA wasn't really big on medication back in the day.
Yep.
But Tuesday Women's Group, they were my family. And they came to family group, and they said, look, this is what the doctor said you need. This is what you're going to take. Otherwise, they're not going to discharge you. So these women were great. They brought me a t-shirt, winner, because I felt like such a loser. Here I am in rehab, 3 years sober. But, then going on lithium, it just changed my life. Like, oh my God, is this what it's like to be normal, quote unquote? And then fast forward, getting degrees, like school became my drug of choice after that. I got my associate, bachelor's, master's, doctorate, and then many.
Oh my God.
Yeah, just kept going.
Holy cow. Did you run out of schools to go to?
No, there's so much to learn. I love going to school. I love school. It saved me, even growing up.
Just to let you know, your recovery is going downhill because you're on this show right now. I'm just kidding. So you got all these degrees, and how old were you when you got to these degrees? I went
right from one. You know, a lot of us go from rehab into, I'm going to be an alcoholism counselor. So that's what I did.
Okay.
No surprise. I went into an alcoholism. It was called Minneapolis Chemical Dependency. It's still a certificate program. So I got my associate's program. And then at, 2 years clean and sober, age 21, this rehab, someone from rehab, they're opening a new adolescent rehab. And back in the day, you knew the people who were clean and sober who were under 20, And they said, hey, we heard you want a job over here? I'm like, oh my God, sure. So, and then I went to get my bachelor's degree, work full-time, went to school full-time. And same with my master's and my PhD.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. I took 5 years in between my bachelor's and master's, and 5 years between my master's and PhD.
So you mentioned Minneapolis. You went to school in Minneapolis?
Yes.
Wow. So you have a lot in common with Carl. Carl drank young. He went into rehab young. He lived in Minneapolis for a long time. So Carl, just listen to this, Carl. There's something going on here. So, and you live in California. I'm just saying. But anyways, so I want to get back to what you were saying. AA it wasn't big on meds, and I'm up there, and I'm not up there with you in time, but I have 29 years. But I do remember 29 years ago, if you mentioned something about mental health or meds or anything in AA, they didn't look at it. And you remember, Beth, I mean, they don't look at you kind of, like two eyes, maybe you had three eyes instead of, two eyes, I mean, I remember those days.
Yeah, they got told you weren't sober because you were taking drugs.
Exactly. Yeah. That's why I refused.
Yeah.
I was not giving up my time, man. I worked my ass off for that.
Yeah.
And, it wasn't until my, the women's group, said, no, Laura, this is what you need. And I was like, okay. By that time, my whole family had moved back to California. I'm originally from California.
Okay.
A native. And, not that they, unfortunately, the diseases, pickled in my whole family. So, so this was really my family, my AA group. And, yeah.
So this was 3 years into your sobriety. You found you figure, let's say the mental health isn't working right. And that was what? So 3 years into 46. So that was 44 years ago.
Yeah.
Wow. That's kind of not heard of 44 years ago, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
I also feel I was very blessed that I got sober in Minneapolis because they're so progressive.
Yes.
Yeah. And they still are.
Yes. 100% hands down. Yeah. And absolutely. They always been for the longest time. I mean, they have some great rehab. They call them the land of the 10,000 treatment centers out there. That's what they call them. So I have a lot of good friends out in Minneapolis, but, but back then, how many times thank God I didn't have that. I mean, my mental health was, a little depression here or there, but I can't tell you, countless couple of sponsors said, no, you can't be on meds. And think about that. I mean, my sponsor is not a doctor. A sponsor is not somebody who should tell you what to do. But I guess in those years ago, AA was just, you had to take the suggestions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I talk about that in my book. How, here I've been, I'm between a rock and a hard place, the people that became my family are now telling me I'm not sober if I take these meds, but I'm with another group. And then, professionals who say, no, you need this. This is a serious disease. Just like, you go to meetings for your alcoholism and drug addiction. This is the medicine you need for bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I took lithium for a little shy of 2 years.
Okay.
And then, unfortunately, like a lot of people who have to take meds, I thought, I don't need this anymore.
A lot of people.
And I was for like 10 years,
Wow.
I moved to New York and I got my master's and I started my practice and things were really booming. And then I moved back to the West Coast, which I don't think was one of the best decisions, because I wanted to be closer to my family. But 10 years later, they hadn't actually changed. But that's another story. So, and then I started, experiencing depression, and they put me on antidepressants, which is okay, but it really wasn't the right thing. And then about 10 years ago, I've been in therapy most of my recovery, and this therapist said, because he knew about my history, he goes, so how long has it been since you've been on a mood stabilizer? And I said, oh, what day is it? Thursday? I said, oh, about 30 years. And he's like, what? So I really struggled in recovery needlessly. I mean, my recovery had, they talk about trudging the road. It was trudging in mud. I mean, it was just not easy, but I just knew there was an alternative. Like if I picked up a drink or a drug, I knew that would be it. So
mental health is so prevalent now and always has been in recovery, always has been. Because think about it, we're stopping something, and the old timers didn't know. Nobody knew. Even like when you got into the field, there really wasn't as much research as there is today. But
of course,
we think you stay sober, stay away from the drugs, stay away from the booze, stay away from all that stuff, and you'll be okay. But a lot of people went off the deep end, and why? Well, because, I know relapse is huge.
Several people, not just the deep end, they killed themselves.
Yes, absolutely.
Or they went off meds and then killed themselves. Yeah. So unfortunately, had that experience of losing people and just really needlessly. I just, it's really upsetting.
So 30 years later, you get into your meds, you talk to your therapist, and boom, you write a book, right?
No, it wasn't quite like that. What happened then was my daughter, I have one daughter, and she went to, so when she left for college, I had a really bad depression. And we were really close. And at that time I was divorced. And so she was like my main, we were really tight. And so my psychiatrist suggested it's called TMS, transcranial magnetic stimulation.
Okay.
Total effing nightmare. Okay. And why? Well, I have bipolar disorder. It's contraindicated if you have bipolar disorder, which I didn't know. For some reason, my psychiatrist, I guess, missed that memo. So about 20, about 12 sessions in, my ex-partner and her and I were flying out to my daughter's college. She was on a volleyball scholarship. She was in the championships. And so we went there. And the next day I told Margot, I said, something's wrong. I have to go back to the hotel. I got to call my sponsor. Something's really wrong. Got to call my therapist. And all of a sudden, it was like 40 years ago. I mean, the racing thoughts, the word salad,
the word salad.
Yeah, I didn't get that one.
Yeah, when you're talking so fast, they have a phrase for it. They call it word salad. I remember my best friend in recovery said, Laura, I don't understand a word you're saying because I was thinking so fast, but only every 3 words were coming out of my mouth. People couldn't make sense of it. But that's part of having bipolar disorder when you're in a manic episode. I was in a full-blown manic episode. I was scared shitless. It was 10 times worse than the one when I was, 21. Could even be as worse, but it was. And so on the plane back, I mean, Margaret just said, you're sitting, the stewardess knew something was wrong. I was pacing. I was like looking at the, airport, the airline door. She's like, Laura, you got to I'm holding you in your seat. She's in recovery, thank God. She goes, and you're not moving for 5 hours. This is what we're saying. And then as soon as I got off the plane the next day, I went to see my psychiatrist and got into the DBT program, dialectical behavioral therapy. Yeah. And I went to AA 3 times a day. They had me on a wait list for a day program.
Okay.
But by the time an opening came, I was already starting to feel a little bit better. And even though the people in the rooms didn't understand, they were always loving and supportive. And I just talked about whatever I needed to, which is what you do now. You don't have to just talk about alcohol.
Yeah. And that's the rooms are much more open to that. Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Thank God. Absolutely. Yeah.
So now you're experiencing more mental health issues, right? Again, in recovery.
Oh yeah. And this time it was a doozy. And so when I was in the DBT program, probably one of the third or fourth groups, this therapist said, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. Yep. Oh, I've heard that before. I've heard that many times in AA. I said, and then a light bulb went off in my head. I said, oh my God, these DBT skills would be so helpful for people in AA, and so that's when I decided I was going to write a book. It's my second book. And then COVID hit like a year later. So it's perfect timing. Like, what else are you going to do when you're shut down?
Yeah.
So I, wrote this book and I decided to format it with, here's the first step. Here are the DBT skills that correlate with the first step. Here's the second step.
Oh, really?
Skills that work. Yeah. So
can you explain, Doc, what DBT is for our audience?
Yeah. So DBT is dialectical behavioral therapy, and it's a 3-pronged therapy, meaning it consists of cognitive behavioral therapy, which a lot of people are familiar with. And it consists of mindfulness, meditation, and then it also consists of what's called dialectics. And dialectics are, like a lot of times in recovery, people, we call it the black and white thinking, either or. But in DBT, dialectic, instead of either or, is both and. So I could feel like picking up a drink or a drug and stay clean and go to a meeting. I could feel suicidal and go to my therapist and psychiatrist, make sure my meds are working right. So it's not looking at either or. And then the DBT skills. So AA, the book was what? It's like 80 years old. Okay.
80 years old.
Well, it was written like 80 years ago, right?
Oh, was it? Okay. All right. Okay.
Oh, yeah. Come on. Yeah. You got to know your AA history here, Ed.
Our book. Oh, yes. I thought you were talking about your book. I'm like,
no.
Old. I'm like, she said pandemic. Wait.
The big book. The big book. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So back in the day, when they wrote the big book in 12 steps, there's some good tools in there, but there's maybe, I don't know, a handful, like maybe 15 or 20. DBT has 200.
Wow.
There's so many, like you were saying earlier, Ed, so much more research has been done. And there's so many more skills and tools that can help people not just get clean and sober, but stay clean and sober. And so that's what I have in my book. So AA has pause. Okay, that's really helpful. And then DBT has, okay, here's how to practice meditation. Here's how to do mindfulness. Here's a couple of other ways to practice acceptance. So each of the steps, I would pick out several skills that were analogous, that coincided with the step. Because for me, I feel, wow, this really would have helped me when I was me. It did help me, 45 years clean and sober.
Yeah.
Definitely when I was newly sober, I feel these skills would have been really helpful to know. And so that was the impetus to writing this book.
Wow. So you take the DB. Okay, Beth.
Yeah. So we have a lot of newcomers that watch our show. or listen to our show. And so like, what's one DBT skill that kind of goes along with like step one with that powerless and unmanageable?
Okay.
I like that.
Yeah, that's great. So one is, they talk about acceptance, but there is actually a worksheet for acceptance. There's a meditation for acceptance. So you meditate on, it's like a 2-3 minute meditation that kind of jumps off the acceptance in the 12 and 12. And, like I have a picture where it's raining and one side of the column is, I wish it wasn't raining. Oh my God, my hair is going to get all fuzzy. Oh no, I didn't wear the right shoes. And then the right side says, yep, it's raining. So then I have that exercise. So let's look at, okay, the left or the total title is, I have an alcohol and drug addiction problem. Now, what's the left side? I'm too young. For me, when I was 19, I would say I'm too young to be an addict. What am I going to do my 21st birthday? I'm not going to have any fun, and on and on. And then the right side is, yes, I have an alcohol and drug addiction problem. Acceptance, like for me, it took me years to accept that I had a mental health issue that needed medication, that I had bipolar disorder, that the main treatment is medication. Whereas,
you came from that era where mental health was no, keep that under the rug, and especially in AA, absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly.
Thank God, I came to an acceptance, and I really don't know, except for the grace of God, that I accepted that I was an alcohol and drug addict very early on. And, because I know a lot of people who started when they were my age, but they didn't stick with it. Their time is a lot shorter. So I'm very grateful for that. But so that's one tool in the book. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to learn more tools, you have to go read her book.
Yeah.
Beth,
and is that posted anywhere on your show, Ed, or in the credits? Or
absolutely, it'll be in the show notes
from you. Yeah,
okay.
All the information.
Or I could show it here.
There you go. Let's see.
Yeah, show us your book.
I'd be proud of show. If I wrote a book, I'd be showing it off all the time.
You show Carl off all the time.
I
was just going to say, I didn't write a book and I show it off all the time.
I know somebody who wrote a book. So I show it.
We need to write a book, y'all. The three of us.
Well, ladies, why Laura's getting her book. Recovery again, Beth, you and I know this from all those years ago, that recovery was just so down on mental health, down on
all of your answers are in the program.
Yeah, all your answers are in the book.
All the answers. Oh my God, if that's the biggest piece of shit I ever heard. Excuse my language.
Right? Thank you.
The DBT Workbook okay.
Ooh.
Alcohol and drug addiction. All right, that's it.
Is it on Amazon?
It's on Amazon. Check it out.
All right,
Amazon.
It'll all be in the show notes. Dr. Laura, I have a question though. What is the difference? Can you explain what the difference between DBT and CBT are? Are they related?
Yes, they are very closely related, Bambi. So, and that's a great question. So cognitive behavioral therapy looks at our thoughts and specifically our negative thoughts. Stinking thinking, they call it in AA. And then part of the treatment is to, I would give a client what's called a thought record and say, okay, what's the negative thought? I'll never be able to stay clean and sober. Okay, let's really break this down. So is that really true? And what's the belief behind that, and so that's looking at core beliefs. So for this particular person, it's like, oh, I'm a loser, or I've never been able to do it before. And then how can you reframe that? I'll turn off my phone, sorry. I'm afraid I won't be able to stay clean and sober today. So let's bring it down to today. Okay. And then what are the steps you can take to enable, help you stay clean and sober today? And let's reframe that thought. Okay, I can stay clean and sober today. So you reframe the thinking.
From a how to a why, right? Is that
From
kind of
a
what
how
you're saying?
to why, and also from a negative to more of a positive.
Yeah. Okay.
Because most of our thoughts, like another one is, I don't know, people say, I'm stupid, okay, let's look at that, what is, I'm not able to, I don't know, write a resume. So then what tools do you need, or where can you get the help for that? Go to a job place, I'll ask people in the rooms, and then I'll look online. And then, once I have the tools, I could write a resume.
Exactly.
And it's similar. So with DBT, we're looking at more the dialectic behavioral therapy. So the both and. So again, being able to hold all of it. So I have mental health issues, bipolar disorder. I try to commit suicide. I have struggled most of my recovery, and I'm clean and sober. So that's the dialectics, looking at both and, instead of, and really getting away from that black and white thinking that all too often as alcoholic and addicts we have. It's a way to encompass everything instead of getting stuck in that mindset.
So getting stuck is definitely a tough position to be in. And, kind of getting out of that is even tougher, right? Especially if we got stuck into the medication, with this, that, the other thing, the way AA taught us, right? So is that what DBT is teaching us, is that there's two positive sides? Is that what you're saying? Kind of two sides, is two ways to see it? Is that?
Well, there's two ways to see it or not see it. We could hold both. Like, okay. I worked at San Quentin for 7 years, right? And I developed a whole rehab program, the whole bit.
Wow.
And a lot of the guys were, well, Dr. P, I effed up. My life's, I'm doomed, whatever. This is always going to be in my record. I would say, okay, let's look at DBT. Let's look at the dialectic. Let's reframe that. Yes, I committed a crime. Yes, I'm a drug addict. Yes, I'm in prison, and I'm still alive. And I'm doing, taking all these groups to better my life. And as long as I'm still living and breathing, I have a chance for a better life. Because let's face it, I mean, it is a lot of, this huge wall that's facing them. And I'm really actually speaking about that. Our governor decided or is going to sign into law after 8 years. Someone who was convicted of a felony or a crime does have to put on their or the job application, I'm a felon.
Doesn't have to.
Now a lot of companies ask for that. Yes.
Okay.
They still, now they ask you, but they say they won't hold it against you. But we see that. Yeah. But now that's going to be wiped clean, which is kind of what AA is doing for us.
Yeah.
By doing all the steps and everything, our past is getting wiped clean. And I'm really happy to see, for some of our brothers and sisters that ended up in the criminal justice system, their life is literally going to be wiped clean, in addition to doing the steps.
Yeah. I like what you're talking about in the prisons, right? So back with, Viktor Frankl, you guys know, right? So his thinking was when he was in prison in the concentration camps, is that he was looking forward to something, whatever it was, he was looking forward to seeing his family again, getting out, moving on. And his spirit kept up, but he said he knew when somebody was going to die because he could see the progression, and they had nothing to hope for, nothing to believe in the future, right? And I could see that happening in a jail or a prison, 20 years, 10 years, lifetime. Like, do you give up? And even in life, even out here in life, like, we, like what's next? Like, what do I do next? Like, is this it? Like, yeah, no, it's not it. Whatever you want to do is next. Wherever you want to go is next, but we get stuck in that kind of ball and we don't see outside the ball and think, well, this is what I'm going to do for the rest of my life. And it might be, but there are other ways of looking at it, other things. So is that kind of what you're talking about as far as that goes?
I mean, it's interesting that Viktor Frankl's statement does have a DBT quality to it.
It does, yeah.
In terms of, and he, we could do it if we have a why.
Yes.
So it basically, he was talking about hope.
Yes,
so
he was.
Hope, and a purpose.
Yeah.
These people had lost all hope, no purpose. I mean, who could blame? Look at that situation. But he had that. And so, like, partly for me, when my daughter went to college, my purpose in life went from 100 to 0. Even though I had a full practice and, so much, very involved in the program, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I felt like my purpose was gone.
Yeah.
And that was really tough. And so even writing this book gave me a renewed sense of purpose, like, oh, okay, I have more to give, It's not like I just have something to give to my daughter, but it was, and not only to my clients or sponsees, but also I have another purpose. But it really helped me get out. It really was very therapeutic to write this book.
Yeah, the hope, like you said, the hope is there.
Yes, the hope.
I'm going to shift gears here because we're going to come to an end here soon.
Right.
So Facebook is asking, do you still see patients? And I'm guessing maybe this person wants to see if
yes.
Okay, good. That's good.
So, hey, can I tap in the chat and give my info?
Yeah, absolutely. You can,
and I can put it in the show notes as well. So anyone who wants to can.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll get it out to you. And I know the person who's asking, so I'll make sure that we connect you guys. But talk about your practice. Where is it? What is it? What do you do with it? Like how do you? Is it new people in recovery? Is it people with just mental health? Is it talk a little bit about your practice?
Okay. So I'm located in Berkeley, California, and I do both telehealth and in person. Before the pandemic, I only saw people in person, and that was through an office in the city in San Francisco. But then since the pandemic, I rebuilt a third bedroom, my daughter's bedroom, into a home office. And so I do both in person and telehealth. I'm also licensed in New York State and Minneapolis. So I, and then they have what's the word for it? Like being grandfathered, not quite.
Oh,
that,
yeah.
But they're now recognizing during the pandemic, like, hey, therapists are seeing people from all over the country. So I am allowed to see people from all states.
Wow.
Up to 6 months at a time.
Cool.
And so that's basically once a week is not going to add up to 6 months. So
yeah.
So,
a total of 6 months
per year.
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, it's
a big deal.
It's a big deal. Yeah. And I think it's great they've done that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and we'll have all this information in the show notes, because this is completely different stuff than I've been hearing, traditional therapy, just, get out there and see your therapist, go to IOP, go to PHP, whatever it is. And but this is, I mean, you can probably, and correct me if I'm wrong, somebody with deep into the recovery, like Beth and I, or like Bambi, who's just starting out in recovery. I mean, it's kind of it's a program for every walk of life in recovery.
100%.
Right?
Yeah. Most definitely.
Yeah. And ladies, do you have any questions for Dr. Laura
Just call me Laura. That's fine.
Laura. Okay, Laura. I was going to try to pronounce it again.
It's okay.
Cool,
Laura's
but
fine.
I'm like, where did it go? I didn't remember. I turned the page though. Okay, ladies.
I just wanted to say thank you for coming on the show. This has been very enlightening as far as medication is concerned and how the DBT skills. I actually went on to Amazon and bought the book, so I'll be
wow.
I'll be reading the book on as I do. I have always I work for a treatment center. I've worked for multiple treatment centers, and I know that DBT is the best mode for substance use disorder. And so I'm always looking for ways to deepen and strengthen my connection. So I got the book. So I'm sure I'm going to be dragging your asses through it too, guys.
Oh, great. Hey, and also as an FYI, I've actually done some training for different treatment centers, one in New York City and in Philadelphia, in Minneapolis. So, spread the word, Beth, because I love doing trainings and
Absolutely.
Travel. So
I would love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Bambi, any closing words for?
No, I'm just glad
Laura?
that I'm a newbie because I can't imagine. I think an antidepressant should be in the water pretty much for everyone. So I can't imagine not taking one. So I can't imagine back, 40 some years ago when that was so discouraged.
Yeah.
Right.
And it was so discouraged. You're right. It was just, it was so sad. I mean, you think about and all those people, all those years thinking that, okay, and it was the best thing since sliced bread. Don't get me wrong, that everybody got sober, but think of the next level, clearing your head and and I'm glad it's all coming around because, people like you started way back when, and that's what treatment was like back then. People just peer to peer, basically. Now you get an education and you're taking it even deeper. You're saying, listen, guys, we can do this. We can help people get to not just this level, they can keep going up levels because we're going to look at it all different ways. We're going to look at it through the brain. We're going to look at it through the body. We're going to look at it through the mind, everything. You know what I mean? And I love that. I mean, and that's what recovery is about to me. I remember when MAT first came out.
Oh my God.
And everybody was against it. But now, and we even say this in AA, I can't stay sober on your recovery. I have to work my own recovery. Right. Yeah. So that's telling me that we are different, but don't go outside the line. Just stay right here. Right. Don't go outside the line. So that's when MAT came in. I was kind of against it, but thinking more and more about it. If it keeps somebody sober and it keeps their life, keep them alive, why not? Right.
Yeah. I'll tell you a quick story really quick.
Sure, go ahead.
First job in recovery before the rehab was working at a methadone clinic. And my start time was 6 a.m. And I'll never forget, I was there like about 5:45, and there was a line around the block.
Oh, yeah.
And I thought, wow, so these people are really motivated to get counseling.
That is good.
Oh my God. Here I am, a recovering addict myself, and I was so naive. I thought, wow, they want to see me. Laura. But even then, methadone was controversial, like Matt. But yet it did help a lot of people.
It did. Absolutely, it did. And, and that's how we have to start looking at recovery. And that's why, somebody like you is so important, first of all, to be on our show so we can look at recovery from every angle, and maybe you're not somebody's cup of tea, and that's okay. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. But there are people out there, at least we can choose what cup of tea we want today, not just, get handed a cup of tea. So that is amazing. And thank you for kind of pushing through and not staying trudging, like you said earlier. I'm not going to trudge. I want to get out there and make a difference. And you are making a difference. It seems, I don't really know you, but it seems like you are making a world of difference in the recovery field. So
thank you, Ed.
Thank you, Laura, for that.
And thank you, Beth, and thank you, Bambi, and thank you so much for having me on the show. And if you have any further questions, just shoot me an email or give me a call. I'm more than happy to, follow up.
Absolutely. So Dr. Laura Petracek, No, that's not it.
We're doing so good.
I know. I lost it. I wrote it down somewhere and I can't find it anymore. But
It's okay.
Laura, thank you so much for being on the show. And
Thank you.
everybody look for her in the show notes for all her information. Contact her. If you can't contact her, if you don't find it, you know our phone number. Kind of get a hold of me and we can pass all that information on. Ladies, thank you for a wonderful interview with Laura. I really appreciate you guys. And you sound great today, Bambi and Beth. I wonder why. You sound really, really good today.
Except when my little pug decided to jump off the bed and took my computer with her.
Oh, is that what you're doing running around before?
I love dogs. They're the best, aren't
Oh,
they?
yeah. Oh, my
I have a
God.
dog coffee cup. How to feel
Aw.
better. Sad, pet dogs. Mad, play with dogs. Scared, hug dogs.
Oh,
Lonely, kiss dogs. Happy,
Aw.
dance with dogs.
oh,
I agree with all those.
absolutely. Well, ladies, you know what we always say at the end of the show: stay sober, everybody.
Stay sober.
This concludes this episode of Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast. Follow us on Facebook for past shows and updates, and enjoy free access to twice daily support meetings. Friends in Recovery, the Addiction Recovery Podcast, is available on Facebook, Podbean, iTunes, and YouTube 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.